Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. In this tutorial we will continue our talking about Grandjs repository pattern. And basically we have discussed in the latest tutorial how to implement the concept behind Grandjs repository pattern and how repository pattern works inside Grandjs application. And basically in this tutorial will be a continue to the previous tutorial, but in this tutorial we will learn how to implement repository pattern inside Grandjs application practically. And basically Grandjs depending on another package that applies the repository pattern, which is called Grand Connectors. So basically Grand Connectors library is a library that helps you to connect your Grandjs application parts together. So basically we can visit grandjs.netify.app, which is the main website for Grandjs. And basically we can go to Grandjs connectors, and here is the whole documentation related to Grandjs connectors, and you have about and features. So for example, in features you have here dependency injection and repository pattern. So basically Grand Connectors helps you to implement decorators and inject services inside another services using dependency injection. And also you have here repository pattern, and you can build isolated modules and isolated models, repositories, controllers, and without it affecting together. And also in installing here you have npm install Grandjs and so on. So basically I will open I will clear everything in my terminal, and here I am in my VS Code inside our project here. So basically the first thing that I will do is npm install Grandjs to get the latest version of Grandjs. If there is any update related to Grandjs, it's important to install the latest version because there is new features, and this is a prototype and a training tutorial. So don't care about your libraries compatibility and so on. So here I have the latest version is 2.2.19, and also I will start installing npm grand-connectors to install it. You can find the guide here how to implement it line by line and function by function. So basically here I have installed my Grand Connectors, and now I can start writing my code logic. So as we discussed before, we have repository that is considered a layer that can contact with my models and entities and data sources. And on top of this layer I have another layer called controller, and basically this controller can contact with other repositories and can contact with other controllers, for example. And on top of these two layers we have another layer called router, and basically this router can contact with the controller instead of contacting with your repository directly inside router. So basically your router is isolated and don't care about your data operation and so on. So repository is important on this. So basically the repository is a set of methods and classes that you can use to do operations that you want and need inside your application on your data. So basically here I will create a new directory called repositories, and also will create another directory called controllers. And inside my repository I will create just for example product.repository.ts, and here I will import my repository from Grand Connectors. So basically this is a class that you can extend to build your own repository. So I will just export class product repository, and this will be extendable from repository class. And basically I will add one method or two methods here, which is add product, and basically this will take an object contains title, description, and I think also the last property will be price. And here I will create a static, I think a static data, which will be an empty array which is products. And basically this repository can contact with your model, your database, and so on. But in this tutorial we will just implement data and add data inside our application memory. So basically I define an array here, and once I add product I will push this product inside this array, and another build another method which is get products, which will return a list of items or a list of products. So basically I will say here this products push to push my data. So I can say title and description and the price. So here I have my add product implementation, and also I will create another method called get products, and basically this will return just this products, for example. Yes, and I exported my repository here, so I will go to my controller and create another file called product.controller.ts, and basically this will import my repository from Grandjs. I think we don't need repository. Instead of this we will import another thing, but we will first import my product repository. And basically we have here a repository, and also we will create a class called controller. So this controller, I think we can say product controller, and basically this controller will contain two methods also, add product, and this will take data, and also we have here another method called get products, will be another method. So basically we want to use this product repository inside my product controller. So we have several options here. One of them is exporting this as singleton class. So we can, for example, export new product repository, but this is not extendable solution. So we want to use somehow of in some features in TypeScript, like decorators, to decorate my classes, or use dependency injection to inject something inside another thing. So we have here another something called inject service. So basically this is a decorator that can be used to implement dependency injection inside your application. So basically you have here the class that you want to implement or you want to inject inside the controller. So for example, I have here user repository and have user controller, and I can use inject service to inject my repository inside my controller, so then I can access on it inside my controller. So basically we will implement the same pattern here. So we have here the products inside the controller, so you will say inject service. So basically I think we have an error here. Yes, and yes, inside inject service decorator it takes several params. The first one is the name of the object that you want to host your service inside it. So for example, we will say repositories, and another the second param is specifying your service you want to inject. So here I will say product repository, and then I can create, as we are using TypeScript, so I can create some definition here. So we can say repositories, which is an object and contain product repository, which is product repository. And basically I can say here this the repositories, because I specified here my my service will be injected inside repositories object, which is inside my class. So I can access it using this repository.product repository.add product, and basically pass the data here. And also we can I think we can here return this the repositories the product repository the get products. And basically I think we can import this class. So we can I mean export this class and go to my product router, just import I think import product controller, and here we can use the same pattern to inject my controller inside router. So I can implement or import inject service. So basically inject service is a decorator that can be used inside any part of your application to implement dependency injection. So basically I can say here upon my class inject service, and basically this will take the first param, which is the object that I want to inject my service inside it, so controllers. And basically we have the second param here is the main service, so we can say product controller, and here we can define controllers and product controller, which is product controller. So this is basically the type definition for TypeScript, not another thing. And also here we have, instead of returning this static data, we can implement returning dynamic data. So we can say const products will equal this the controllers, I mean controllers the product controller that get products. So this will return an array, and we can say products. Sure. And also we have here we can implement another method, which is post, to add new product and specify, I think specify the URL here is as slash, and basically call it as add product, and here we can say this the controller, I think controller the product controller the add product, and this the request the body. So here we are inserting our request object inside my controller, and basically this controller takes the request body and send them as data, and send them here to add product, which destruct this object as title, description, price, and push them inside products array. And I think my application here is ready, so we can clear everything and just npm run dev, and basically we can go to Postman. So here I have I was testing my implementation here. So we have here localhost 3000 admin product, and once you try you can find here we have an empty array. So basically we have an empty array because we are using a memory database and your application memory, not a database. So we didn't enter any something inside our array until now, so you'll get an empty array. So basically, once you push your new product here, so we can say, for example, the product is has name banana and description and the price 12, and send it. Yes, I think there is a missing thing here inside my product router, which is return, for example, return with the status. I think we can return 200 and we can the JSON and return an empty object and reload my application and send it. We can get an empty object, so we can retry get my product list. I can see here I have an array of one item, which is banana. For example, if I added another item, which is apple, for example, so we have delicious apple, and I can send it and go to my product list. I can see we have another item which is product called apple. So basically, here's the implementation of repository pattern and how to implement it inside your Grandjs application. And in the next tutorials, we will go in deep inside our repository pattern and how to implement it and integrate it with real databases like MongoDB, SQL DB, and so on. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Don't forget to make like, subscribe,